Hello everyone and welcome. I took this car for its first mini drive only last week. Mini drive because the car is not really in roadworthy condition. Although I have a great update for you. The car has got a V5 and plates. I am so happy. Finally the stress is over about getting this car registered in the UK. But anyway, I'm going to put this so the wind doesn't blow. Since my second video about this car, I did a few jobs in it. The reason for that is that although the engine did run, it didn't run that great. It was also running from a jerry can instead of the main tank, and the car could also not be driven because the rear wheel cylinders were busted. But before I did all that, there was one thing that I had to do. I had to drain the old fuel from the fuel tank, and by that I had to siphon it out, use the old hose method, and oh my goodness, there was plenty of fuel inside this tank. You're going to see the images now of me siphoning the fuel out, and if you are wondering why the fuel looks so dark, that's for two reasons. First, in Portugal they use a dye for different grades of fuel. Purple for 95 octane and blue for 98 octane. Because this car uses 98 octane, it had a darker color. Also because the fuel had been sitting in the tank for many years, the fuel loses a bit of its color and also turn into some sort of a dark green. Then it was time to put a couple of gallons of fresh fuel in and then start the engine. So I started the engine and all was good. The petrol that I could see on the fuel filter was pretty much clear, meaning that the old petrol was gone. Then I got a new battery and I also went and changed the oil and the oil filter. I got 20 W50 mineral oil because that's what the chaps at the several BMW forums recommended for this engine. To be fair, I don't know how many miles it has done or the wear and tear and so on, so they recommended that. And I'm happy to report that no more condensation, which I'm really chuffed with, meaning that apparently there are no head gasket issues. But then I had to do other things and sort out the ignition system. So I went to replace the spark plugs, and I noticed they were the wrong ones, and also they were incorrectly gapped. So I put new ones in, and then onto the distributor. I replaced the condenser, I replaced the points, and I set the gap as per the manufacturers. I replaced the rotor arm, and then I also went to replace the distributor cap. The problem was that although I asked for the correct one, the one that the parts supplier sent me is incorrect, and I was very annoyed. And I looked at all the ones on sale online, and all of them are incorrect for this car. Only one place, it is the wallet necked in Germany, which I'm still waiting to arrive, and that will be replaced. Same for the HT leads, they're going to have to be replaced at some point, but they are also in the post as well. Then it was time to tune the carbs. Now let's get one thing straight. In order for engine to run properly, a lot of things needed to be sorted out. The ignition system completely, all that needs to be in good order. The valve clearances need to be in good order as well. I do still have to do the valve clearances, which I will do at a later stage as well. Also have to check the tensioner of the timing chain. I don't think the tensioner is really in good condition. And then doing the timing, of course. Only after all that is done, then I can have the carbs properly tuned. What I've done, it was just a bit of a remedy. I've just had the engine run, had set up the idle position in here, and then just with a piece of pipe, I just started to put on my ear and hear the sound of the airflow going into the carbs. And I noticed that this one was completely shut. So I just opened a bit more, compare it, try to balance them. I'm not a carb specialist, so I did the best I could. And then the engine started to run a little bit better, also helped by the new ignition components. But like I said, only after I do everything in the engine, then I can get these properly tuned up by a specialist. It was now time to deal with the rear brakes, and I've replaced both rear wheel cylinders. Although only this one was actually broken, things like that, it's always wise to replace them in pairs. I gave just a good clean up on the shoes, and then I moved on to bleed the brakes on all four corners using my Gunson bleeding tool, and also replace, of course, the brake fluid. As you've seen on the startup video, I did mention that the gauges were not working, only a few lights. I thought, well, maybe it could have been a fuse or something like that, but I replaced the fuse and it's still no changes. I also did mention that I found evidence of a rat's nest just behind the bulkhead, and that was my biggest fear. So I just removed the clocks, and what did I find? A rat's nest. And it looks like they've moved it in some point during Christmas period, because it was full of tinsel. And then I removed all of that, and then I noticed, of course, some wires that have been chewed through. So what I did, I just did a temporary replacement using some length of wire and some isolating tape, reconnected everything, and hey presto, almost all gauges are working. At least I have a temperature gauge, I have a ref counter, extra lights are working, but somehow the fuel tank gauge isn't working. It does work occasionally, so there must be a bad connection somewhere on the clocks themselves. At least if the fuel tank is empty, at least the light still comes on. Strangely, the speedometer isn't working, although it's connected and so on, so that's something that I have to look into next time. And then, after all of this was done, it was time to go for the first drive in 14 years. But for me, it's my first drive in this car since 2004. Not really a proper drive, because it's all around the car park area, because the car is not roadworthy and I'm not going to get into trouble. So it's perfectly safe to do it around here. Right, here we go. Whoa. It's been 18 years since I actually drove this car. Whoa, and change to second. Wow, nice one. You can see the steering wheel. The steering works perfectly. It does change gear. I can't see. I have to go a bit slower in here because I can't really see. Nice one. Yeah, the timing and the engine needs a lot of adjustment, so that's why it is a little bit shaky and it's not running as it should, but it's still a work in progress and plenty of work still needs to be done. Can I make the full circle? Yes! No one is coming. there you have it. It has been very nostalgic to be behind the wheel of this car and drive it since 2004, but there is so much work that needs to be done on this car. As you've seen in the video, it is smoking still a bit, although less than on the first startup. The engine needs a full tune, no shadow of doubt about that. The suspension needs work because it's a little bit bouncy. I know it should be a little bit stiffer than this, and also both shocks are weeping oil. There is some play, not much, but some play on some of the bushes. It's going to need new tires as well, because these tires are all dated from 2004 as well. God, and I needed to sort out lights as well. It is a pretty long list really, but to be perfectly honest, I think it has been a great achievement so far to get this car imported, registered and insured in the UK, and I can't wait to get it back to roadworthiness condition. I think this is a job that I'm going to enjoy, since at least the engine is running. Not great, but it is running, and I'm really looking forward to drive it properly on the road once again after all these years. One thing that has helped me to do some jobs on this car is having one of these books. This is an Autobooks from 1973, a period maintenance book for this car, and I think it's going to be very useful in further maintenance. So that's it everyone, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.